I mean, we've all been there, right? It's the night before a huge exam. You're surrounded by highlighters, half-empty coffee cups, and just this mounting sense of panic. It feels like this giant boss battle you are just not ready for. But what if you could trade all that stress for a solid strategy? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's dive into a master guide for taking complete control of your exams. And this quote, it just nails the problem, doesn't it? When we're frantically cramming at the last minute, our real goal isn't to learn. It's just to survive. It's about getting through it. And that short-term thinking, well, it traps us in this horrible cycle of stress and honestly pretty disappointing results. So, here's our game plan. We're going to start by really picking apart the problem with cramming. Then, we'll talk about a crucial mindset shift. From there, we get tactical. We're going to decode the exam, learn a 4-phase attack for test day, and finally, figure out how to use our results to get even better next time. Think of this as your roadmap from panic to peak performance. All right, first up, let's really dig into why that all-too-familiar last-minute cram session is actually our worst enemy. It might feel super productive in the moment, but trust me, it's a strategic trap. See, cramming leads to this thing called superficial learning. You're not building real, deep, lasting knowledge. You're not moving information into your long-term memory. It's more like you're just stuffing your short-term memory with this really fragile, temporary layer of information. And the second you walk out of that exam hall, poof, it starts to vanish. And the cost of cramming? Oh, it's way higher than just a few sleepless nights. The long-term results are never great because that memory retention is so temporary. The info you crammed for hours, it's gone almost immediately after the test. And the whole process is just fueled by this insane stress of feeling like you're always running out of time. It's a totally inefficient system. Okay, so before we even touch a study schedule or a pack of flashcards, we have to talk about our most powerful tool, our mindset. Seriously, just shifting how you think about an exam can be an absolute game changer. You've really got two paths you can go down here. On one hand, there's the negative path. You see the exam as this personal battle, which just leads to fear, confusion, and chaos. But on the other hand, you can reframe it as a challenge. And this simple switch fosters self-confidence and a real belief in what you know. It stops being you versus the test and becomes you showing the test what you can do. And here's why this is so important. Thinking of an exam as a challenge literally stimulates your brain for success. It primes you to retrieve information and perform at your absolute best. A mind that's conditioned by fear is getting ready to fail. A mind motivated by a challenge is ready to win. This one mental flip is your first and maybe biggest strategic advantage. Okay, with our mindset locked in, it's time to get strategic. Like any good strategist, you need intelligence. You've got to know your opponent, in this case, the exam, inside and out before you even think about studying. Exactly. It all boils down to this question. Think about it. You would never sit down to play a complicated board game without reading the rules first, right? Well, an exam is no different. Your first mission is to figure out the rules of engagement. First things first, you got to know the stakes. How much does this test actually matter? Is it worth 10% of your grade? Or is it the big 50%er? Is this a class you absolutely have to pass? Defining its importance helps you pour the right amount of time and energy into it, and it helps you set a clear, realistic goal for yourself. Next up, content. Now, this sounds super obvious, but you would be shocked how many people mess this up. You need to know exactly what's fair game. Is it cumulative from day one or just the last few weeks? Is the professor more focused on the textbook or their lecture slides? Answering these stops you from wasting hours studying the wrong material. And finally, you have to know the format. This is your tactical intel. Are we talking multiple choice, essays, problem solving? Knowing this completely changes how you study. If it's open book, you should practice finding information fast. If you have to memorize formulas, well, that's a whole different kind of prep. The goal here is simple. No surprises on exam day. And here's a seriously underrated tip. Don't forget about your own history. Your past tests and quizzes are your best source of intelligence. Go back and look at them. Where did you lose points? What kind of mistakes did you make? This analysis is pure gold because it shows you exactly where your weak spots are, giving you a clear roadmap for what to work on. All right, you've done the prep work, your mind is in the right place, you've gathered all your intel. Now, it's game day. You don't just wander in and hope for the best. No, you walk in with a plan of attack. And this is it, the 4-phase attack. It's a system to get the most points possible when you're under pressure.
So phase 1 is all about the easy wins. Go through and knock out every question you know immediately. This builds momentum and confidence. In phase 2, you hunt for partial credit. Answer the parts of questions you know to lock in those marks. Then, in phase 3, with time and points already on the board, you can focus all your energy on the toughest problems without panicking. And finally, phase 4 is your quick victory lap, a final review to catch any silly mistakes.
So you've handed in the exam. You walk out of the room. It's over, right? Wrong. The final and maybe the most critical part of your strategy happens after you get your grade back. This is how you guarantee you get better for the next one. You know, it is so easy to just look at a bad grade and say, ugh, I'll do better next time. But that promise is totally meaningless unless you do a diagnosis. You have to become a detective and investigate your own exam. You got to find the root cause of every single point you lost. That's the only way to build a real plan for improvement.
So, let's run through a quick diagnostic checklist. First up, the simplest error of all. Did you just misread the question? It happens way more than you'd think. You gave a brilliant answer to a question that wasn't actually asked.
Next, let's talk about careless mistakes. You know, simple calculation errors, reversing a couple of numbers, forgetting a negative sign. These aren't really knowledge problems, they're execution problems, and they can usually be fixed by being more careful in that final review phase. Or was it a genuine knowledge gap? Maybe you flat out didn't know the answer because you skipped a class or didn't review a certain chapter. This kind of error points directly to a flaw in your study plan, which is good because now you know what to fix. Now, this one is a little more subtle, but man, it's a big one. Did you kind of know the general idea, but you just didn't have the specific details the question was asking for? This is a classic symptom of that superficial learning we talked about right at the beginning. And finally, the big one for a lot of us. Did you simply run out of time? If the answer is yes, that points directly back to your exam day's strategy. It's a crystal clear signal that you need to practice and fine-tune that 4-phase attack so you can be more efficient when the clock is ticking. So I'll just leave you with this thought. What if your next exam wasn't a test of your memory, but a test of your strategy? Because by shifting your mindset, decoding the test, using a smart plan of attack, and analyzing your results, you turn an exam from this terrifying thing into a strategic game, a game you now have the playbook to win.